How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RUFFLEDLIVE, and welcome back to a brand new video. I have not been around for a while now, so I haven't really been posting videos, but we are back. We've been on vacation, and we've returned, so we got some Pokemon news, rumors, leaks, stuff like that to talk about. Let's get started. First things first is the information that there will be a Ed Sheeran Pokemon song that will be included in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, as far as I'm aware. But what is interesting is that during this, potential song reveal, whatever is going to be happening on the 29th or the 30th, we might also, on top of getting the song revealed, whatever it's going to be, I'm not really too excited about that, not a personal fan, but we will maybe possibly get a brand new Pokemon revealed alongside that, because this is leading us to the end of September, the end of this month, which also leads us into October, and that means we are 1 month at that point away from the release of these games. Like a month and a half if you want to count the actual, parts of the days that you will have to wait during November itself. But if you're counting like literal months, generally wise, we only have one left at that point. So just wanted to point that out nonetheless. But yeah, so here's what's being said by Soul Silver Art, who says, I just realized that we could possibly get a random new Pokemon teased or revealed in this song that was made for Scarlet and Violet. I'll keep your eyes on the 29th and the 30th. Could tease a new bird Pokemon, and then we have a bigger reveal trailer the next week in October. Who knows? Which I think is highly possible. I mean, we've been getting a lot more information now recently, and somebody else here, Osmio, said, okay, I think next week they can start teasing a new Pokemon, like what they did with Grafaiai, Riddles and all that, reveal it on the 29th along with Ed Sheeran's soundtrack, and then actually get into the other stuff, because there's been already a lot of thoughts about what's going to be popping up here, what reveals we've gotten, and also what reveals have happened in the past. So here's basically what Blazing Zero said. Last hope for something in September would be if Pokemon decides to tease something at the end of the next week and reveal it early in October. Do you think there's a chance that could happen? Which, yes, it is possible. If we look back here to what was happening back previously, so if you look at Sun and Moon, there was reveals in in May on the 10th, the 2nd, the 14th. There's basically an overlap between the years. You see an overlap all the time here that seems to be happening. If you look at Scarlet and Violet, there was something in June, just like there was in Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon era. There was nothing in this space between here, July, but then in September for PLA, there was a teaser. October, there was a teaser. December, there was a teaser, but that was also after, very close to the game, after BDSP came out, and then Legends got more even in, towards right before the actual game came out, I guess. Around that time as well. But if we look at over here at these games, it would make sense because even Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon had stuff being revealed during October, which, would also then imply that we're most likely, because we're literally in the month before the reveal and the release, we should be receiving something during that time frame as well. Just going to point that out. Nonetheless, let's move on into the next section. So this was one of the first things. Next one is this right here from Soul says, the point to take away is, I believe Game Freak has always counted Pokemon by number of new designs, while fans count by official dex numbers. To us, there's 905, but to Game Freak, we've been well over 1,000 with regional forms, Megas, G-Max, etc. for a long time. But now, in Scarlet and Violet, they finally put the number to most of the new designs. So basically, if we go back over here to the other post, basically what he says here is, my friend put hard work into this. Obviously, it's their own interpretation, so people may count some designs and changes, and others may not. But the point is, with the Scarlet and Violet decks 95% leaked, we can get a good idea of what it will feel like compared to the past gens. Also, we didn't deserve Gen 8. And what is he talking about here? Well, basically, if you look at this post from Euroden, we're going to open that up really quick. He says, no more issues have been brought up, so the final version, again, not counted, where simple color changes, RCS Deerling, etc., post changes with Age Slash, or minor details like Spiky-Eared Pichu and Alcremie Sweets. If you have to update this again, it may only be for Sword and Shield, or Scarlet and Violet, sorry. So, number of unique designs per generation. So, Gen 1, 151. Gen 2, 125. You got the 100 new Pokemon, and then 25 unknown forms. Ruby Sapphire, you had 135 new Pokemon, and then 8 plus distinct forms of those Pokemon. Putting that total there for 143. Gen 4 had, 107 new Pokemon, and then also 14 distinct forms of those Pokemon. You also had Black and White with 156, with 9 distinct forms, as well as Black and White 2 with 6 distinct extra added forms. You had Generation 6, X and Y, with 72 new Pokemon, 12 distinct forms, and 30 Mega Evolutions, with Omega Ruby Sapphire also adding another 20 Mega Evolutions, with the bonuses here not counted being the Vivillon forms and the Cosplay Pikachus, which we don't know if they count them or not. Sun and Moon had 81 Pokemon, distinct forms 9, and regional forms 18. Then new Pokemon Ultra and Moon were 5 and distinct forms were 4. You also had like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which included, of course, Meltan and Melmetal as well, which is 2 new Pokemon. Sword and Shield 81, distinct forms 7, regional forms 13, and Gigantamax forms 25. Adding up to that, you got new Pokemon in Legends Arceus, 7 new, 5 forms that are distinct, and regional forms 17. And then the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC added 8 new Pokemon, 3 distinct forms, regional forms are 6, and Gigantamax is 7. So that kind of totals it up pretty much to a pretty sizable number already at that point. If you count all this down, it's quite a lot of Pokemon. If you include the forms and everything, it's literally, it's a lot, man. It's a lot if you really think about it. But again, it all just comes down to, you know, how do you want to, you know, do you want to count the forms? Because again, we count it differently because we don't include the forms. We see it in a different manner, right? But he continues on saying here, in my opinion, Gen 9 feels the most similar to Generation 7. With that being said, this opens up a huge can of worms and discussion. When I first saw the final number, I was sorely disappointed. Many of us believe that Scarlet and Violet would have a much bigger number of new Pokemon than past gens, but it turns out it has just the average and maybe even the lowest number of new Pokemon in modern 3D Pokemon gens. I say maybe the lowest because, like Ku said earlier this year, once the general public sees the decks, they will see that Game Freak took what could easily be new forms of Pokemon and made them into actual new Pokemon, taking up deck slots, which is something that I have talked about before. This is something that's been pissing me off. I don't like the fact that we're just getting, you know, it means perfect example right here. Look at this, okay? So basically, you have, you know, Vulpix and Alolan Vulpix. Those two are the same Pokemon, okay? They're the same Pokemon. They both are a Vulpix, right? Both are Vulpix. They're just different forms of a Pokemon. But now what they're doing with this game is basically, instead of like, you know, just counting these as forms, they're counting them as brand new Pokemon, which is a problem in my opinion, because once you start counting these things as brand new Pokemon, we run into a can of worms, which is that they can just keep reusing the same design and barely changing it, but count that as a new Pokemon to fill up the decks to make it look like there's more there than there really is. And he continues on and says, and made them into actual new Pokemon, taking up deck slots, entries, and numbers, 18 to be exact. The regional fakes and the paradoxes, technically 4 of those paradoxes, are doubles too, leaving the total of completely new Pokemon in the mid-80s, give or take your count, but my count is 86. So not counting the repeat Pokemon, like if you look right here, again, this from Jordan, so glad we're getting over the 100 new Pokemon, right? Would you feel the same if things had been labeled slightly different? So, for example, X and Y, you know, 72 new Pokemon plus the Megas, Sword and Shield, 81 new Pokemon plus Gigantamax forms, and then Scarlet and Violet, 89 Pokemon and 14 paradoxes. So, honestly, it's not that special then, is it? It just doesn't feel as large as we thought it was going to be, but it is what it is. In the end, it's no different from any other 3D gen, and it has a few more new Pokemon than what Gen 8 started out with. So truly, it all depends on how many more they'll add in all of Generation 9. If we take Gen 8 as an example, it started lower and then became the highest number of new Pokemon ever in a gen. That, of course, isn't counting all the new forms we got, the regional forms and Gigantamaxes. If those were all new Pokemon taking up deck slots too, that would have been crazy, but that's technically what Gen 9 is doing now. Now that time has passed, from my initial sadness, I'm more intrigued to see if Paradox designs are really good or just meh. I'm still excited for them. It's a bittersweet, as they'll be good enough to be considered mega designs, cool and decently different, but would a Mega Evo take a deck slot? Well, we'll have to wait and see. This, of course, is just my personal take. Many of you may be fully satisfied in this decks. I'm still wondering. My full judgment is, you know, still to be determined, I guess, if it's going to be as low as Gen 7's count or if we'll shoot up to where Generation eventually went. So we'll have to wait and see. But shout out to Jordan and Sol for this one and for this information. And this stuff. I mean, this has been a discussion for a while now, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, about my thoughts personally on this. I'm not a fan of them labeling them differently. Now, this is actually a post from Light. So Light actually made a post here who basically starts off from the top here. It's a massive theory, which he did about the most recent trailer that we had, saying, theory time. After the last trailer, I see no one talking about the Herba Mystica, the path of the legends, right? So there are 3 different paths in this game. I actually made a video about this, all these 3 paths. Then the trailer dropped, and I kind of had to scrap that video because, you know, I just kind of had to scrap it because the trailer gave even further information, so my video became obsolete. But either way, the path of the legends, the path that we will be after the Herba Mystica. The Herba Mystica are extremely rare herbs that can only be found in the Paldaya region, so let's begin. Arvin's research is into the healthy recipes for Pokemon that has led him to seek out rare ingredients called Herba Mystica, which are said to immediately restore health once eaten. Who remembers the revival herb? The difference, the Mystica is only found in Paldaya, so for sure it has, different effects, right? They are guarded by Titan Pokemon, which are bigger and stronger than ordinary Pokemon, making these rare herbs even more difficult to obtain. What's more, a number of these Titan Pokemon have already been sighted in the region. So for example, you got this big old champ right here. Look at that boy. And he says, since Arvin isn't good at Pokemon battles, he'll be asking us to help him out. And he will even offer to treat us to some of his handmade dishes if the two of you succeed in obtaining these rare herbs. What does this mean? Well, we'll have another POKEDEX, but with dishes of Paldaya possibly. So please, now let's talk and take a look at these two images from the third trailer. Arvin and the player character are entering the cave to collect the Herba Mystica. It is supposed to be after defeating the Titan that is the custodian of the actual Herba. So basically the person who's, looking over it, right? The groundskeeper of the herbs, mate. So yeah, basically the person taking care of it. Well, how am I going to, or no person, I guess the Pokemon, how am I going to connect the Koraidon and Miraidon with the Herba Mystica and the story? Now, the Titan Pokemon maybe are connected somehow to learn something, in some way to learn something about them. Look at the gigantic jump that Cloth makes here. So yeah, it's a big boy, and it just makes a big old jumpy right down towards the player. Now, he says here, now it is confirmed that we'll be able to jump with Koraidon Miraidon after about 2 hours of gameplay. This means that we will learn to jump after defeating maybe Cloth, right? And this means that we will be able to swim, fly, and scale after defeating the other Titans. So basically what he's saying here is that we may be able to actually unlock aspects of the game. So for example, with Koraidon, unlock the battle form after the ending, unlock other riding forms after the free move. Takes about 2 hours. Riding form and low jump for 2 hours of gameplay. But for the others, swimming, flying, etc., you need to play more. So basically, maybe the Titan Pokemon are going to be the way for us to unlock the different sort of travel mechanics with Koraidon and Miraidon. Actually, it makes sense. The Earthworm for learning to scale, Crane for gliding form, the Duo Sushi Pokemon, and for the swim form, and we're just missing the battle form. Images are taken from the Pokedex by Makio and J. Roses, and yes, that is true. These are Pokemon that are going to be in this game. We have yet to get them revealed, but it does match, right? Finally, we have recovered almost all the powers of Koraidon and Miraidon, but now we need to know which place is this place, I guess. Here's where we'll be obtaining the battle form. This must take place in the area, I guess, marked N, which is down here, I guess, or any of these areas, I guess, up here. Around here, I guess. But yeah, he then says, but probably Arvin doesn't want the Herba Mystica for cooking purposes. What if he just really, I guess, wants to use this to figure out what happened to his, I guess, father or mother or whatever, Sada and Turo. Recovering the powers of Koraidon and Miraidon will help to clarify everything. This face fits perfectly with his inner emotions. Where, yeah, he looks a little bit more, but here you waltz up, you've got to help me out with this, you'd be perfect. So yeah, maybe a bit of an ego-driven person. But let's wait and see. So what are you guys' thoughts on this? Because Soul actually had some thoughts on this as well, who says, really started theory, what if through defeating the Titans, we progressively get each of the Mirai riding forms? Kaka said we wouldn't get them all at once. For me, it would be more like the Cloth is for climbing, Earthworm for sprint, Big Bird, glide, Fish duo surf, and some may say that this goes against the open world go where you want ID, but it's already been proven by leaks again and again that it's more like the freedom comes in all of the set options that you choose to do. The open world games like Breath of the Wild still have some sense of getting items to proceed. So yes, just because it's open world does not mean that, you don't have to earn like certain things to be able to traverse easier, right? Like, sure, you can get to the top of that mountain. You just have to take the long way around, right? I think that's the kind of way we have to look at this. Like, yes, you can go to any of the gyms. You can go here, there, everywhere, but getting to certain locations will just be easier if you have these travel forms. I guess that's kind of the way we should look at it. I think that's the most logical way to look at it. But again, I could be wrong, I could be right. I don't really know what to think about this, but you guys' thoughts would be appreciated. We move on to the next thing. So, It's coming to us from Soul, who got this from Blaze and Senro, and this it's actually interesting. So this is really tough to call. Could be a pre-evolution, could be another piece of the main engine that connects back to it when it's not a Starmobile, or maybe it's nothing. It looks too similar to be a pre-evo, but at the same time, I see what could be an eye. Game Freak purposely hid the back end. So here we're talking about what looks to be possibly a pre-evolution of the engine Pokemon, which was revealed recently. So we already know a little bit about this guy, like we've got kind of this to work with, but could it possibly be that? I don't really know. We'll have to wait and see. If it's the pre-evo, I'm confused on what this hole is meant to be, because it turns out in the pre-evo animation, that hole can move. Any idea what it is? Well, some kind of mouth, I guess. I don't know, really know. But it could be that. Don't really know. We'll have to wait and see. Nonetheless, we move on to the next subject, which is this. Before the official reveal and well before Kaka, I heard the name Paldaya and thought it represented paella, which translates to the pan where they mix all these ingredients. I saw this as a metaphor for a blend of things we'd find in the open world. Also, this reply made total sense. So here, somebody said, I could see the name of the region being something like paello, from the Spanish dish paella, and Soul just, you know, put in some winky eyes. It will also be a nice metaphor for a Spanish region, a large pan open world with lots of ingredients, characters, and Pokemon, and many different spices, many new features combined in one dish, which I think is a cool way to look at it. So yeah, I actually think it's a cool concept if you really, you know, boil it down to the simplest of forms. So this is from HJ Jan. Says, I'm sure some people have already pointed this out. In Japanese, Mesagoza and Artazon are called Table City and Bowl Town, respectively. Their names in all languages have table and bowl in their root words. Likely all towns have the theme of things you can put on a table. So basically based on dishes of some kind, right? Which I guess makes sense, right? I mean, Spain, famously known, or just the Iberian Peninsula, famously known for a lot of, you know, very, very interesting dishes. But yeah, paella is probably Spain's most well-known dish, so add to that a region filled with food Pokemon and a variety of colors, types, quests, sandwiches, and grand open world. This adds up perfectly to the table theme of Paldaya. I'm willing to bet the other towns will also have table names. No one got this, but this predates Kaka. A pal never made me paella. And D is the only capital letter in this. So yeah, it's kind of him just kind of messing around down here. But yeah, just a little bit of joking around. So nonetheless, we move on to the next thing, which is this right here. And so, as if we don't have enough debates on if paradoxes are legendaries or not, Game Freak add confusion by naming a main quest the Path of Legends. Bro, what legends? Does this mean that titans like Cloth are legends now too? Or what if DLC Titans theory could literally mean new legendary titans too? So the DLC theory, which was posted back in, I guess, 19th of September, which we're going to take a look at, says the following. DLC theory, Titans, they seem to be found near these odd towers in Paldaya. Well, did you know there are 11 to 14 of them? Depends on how you count them. And only 5 Titans are in the base version of Scarlet and Violet. What if in the DLC, we get new Titans to correspond with the unused towers, which actually would be pretty cool. I wouldn't count towers paired together or the destroyed one, so we could easily have 5 more DLC Titans. Titan was Scarlet and Violet's codename too, so they could have had this idea from the beginning. There's no limits on Titans either, because Donphan is both from a 2-stage line and a paradox, so I guess that would work. So what are you guys' thoughts about that? Let me know. You know, it's interesting. And what if we get legendary Titans, which that's just crazy at that point. So next thing from Soul is, seems like no Pokemon Scarlet and Violet news this week, which yeah, unfortunately maybe next week, but at this point I'm leaning towards nothing until October. Of course there's a possibility with the whole, like, you know, what's his name, literally Ed Sheeran, his song might happen with that. Back to the dry season as it was always going to be with leaks in July. The good news is only 58 days left, cut, you know, about 7 to 14 days off, and that's until the data mine. So yeah, we're not too far away now from the actual, you know, like info nukes that will be happening with the data mines, but it is where it is. So this is actually a theory here coming from Kurage Mafuyu, and this is, he just says the following. I believe, like other legendary groups, Pokemon fans may eventually call these the 4 seasons. Their typings also support this. Grass equals the life of spring, fire, the hot light of summer, ice, the icy winter, and ground, the most loosely based, the colors of autumn. So what are we talking about? Well, basically the idea of, I think this is about the sub-legendaries, right? And these are basically like the you know, the Zapdos, you know, Articuno, Moltres of this generation, right? And that they will be based on sort of like possibly a lot of different things. There's been like possibly like some some Chinese gods, etc. But in this case, somebody's thinking that I have an interesting guess that the sub-legendaries may also, this is from Kurage Mafuyu, who says, may also be based on the seasons. Snails are common animals in spring, goldfish are summer animals, and deer are autumn animals in Japan, and snow leopards are reminiscent of winter. So I actually think this would be sick, and personally, all these could be cool. And dude, a snow leopard, I mean, muito bene, I would have freaking loved that, man. It would be so sick. Personally, I'm totally on board for that. So, final thing we have, I think this is the final thing we have for this video, which is Nintendo just posted Team Star promo. So it's a good time to share that I think this is a possible, think of a possible theory. Penny rebelling against her father would make sense. The biggest thing against it is that Nemona, and especially Arvin, could be related to the other characters too, the champ and the professor. And this coming from Light here, who made a little theory, who says, this said the following: think we don't know, but maybe we can know. The typical daughter who, you know, I guess her father is the president of the school, has a lot of money, and she's allowed to miss class with no punishment. Same eye color, coincidence, we will see. So if you look at their eye color, it is the same. So they could be related. They could be related. Also, I would assume this is not natural hair and it has been colored. So I'm going to assume that's the case. And if that is the case, then yes, they might be related. Or maybe his hair actually naturally is red as well. I mean, he's old, so I guess he's becoming old and gray. And maybe they are naturally both red heads. And then now he's a poopy pants and she's doing whatever she wants and she's an evil person and he's also evil. Maybe they're evil together. We'll have to wait and see. Nonetheless, we go back to the post here. So he says the following, which is basically we have a 1 in 3 chance of our rivals being the children of the main adult characters. We'll just have to wait and see, but I can totally see Penny being Clavel's rebel daughter, which yes, I think that could be the case. It makes total sense in my personal opinion, but we'll have to wait and see. So ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be pretty much it for the video, guys. If you did enjoy it, drop a like down below. Baby, we are back. We are in here. We are making content again. I know it's been weird though. I've been gone for about, well, I don't know, it's been 2 weeks almost. It's been pretty much most of this month I've been gone. I've been on vacation in Sweden, actually visiting my family there with my lovely fiance. Me and her have been there. We've had a great time. We actually wish we could stay there more, but unfortunately life happens and you have to come back. But hey, there's a lot of stuff happening in life right now. We're going to be moving house, things like that. So yeah, sorry if it's going to be hectic with the upload schedule, but you guys will see content going forward now, and hope you all enjoy it. So thank you for watching. Shout out to Soul, shout out to Light, shout out to everybody who's been posting these theories, and I'll be catching you guys in the next one. Peace out, and bye-bye, ladies and gents.